Good morning. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending from where you're watching from. This is Miro African Diaspora, Facebook, live on Facebook. So, yes, today we are going to talk about the influence of Western culture on the African migrants. And the question we are throwing here today is the Western values and the growing number of diverse cases among African migrants, to be precise, in the USA. Is there a correlation between the two? And today's program, we are going to have about 4 guests, of which one of them is already there, Mazi Anguzie. You are welcome to the show.
Welcome, my brother. Welcome the viewers. We thanks and we appreciate each and every one that is now following the event, the program for today. Thank you so much.
Right. So, Mazi Anguzie, you are going to be here the 3rd time in our production, and I would like to use this opportunity to introduce you. You are a music lover, and you're also in the business of music production. You are the founder of the IB Music Production, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah. I'm working with the Biafra music industry at the moment, and then also the CEO of Esomfra Entertainment entertainment company. Yes, that is that is a little that I can give to. I can dish out now.
It's fine. Correct. So, on this production, today's production, we are going to have we expect to have Mr. Clayton Udo and Miss Adora Mwafo from Canada and Clayton from US. So I think this program today is going to be interesting. So we welcome everybody, all viewers from across the world. We want you to be part of this production today. And we ask you to on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also to subscribe to our YouTube, Miro African Diaspora TV, MAD. So we are going to start this discussion. We are going to start with the question, like I have said, if there is a correlation between Western value and the growing number of diverse cases among African migrants in the USA. Of course, we can actually reduce this discussion or narrow the discussion to the issue of Nigerian migrants, but we would like to leave it open because Nigerians are not the only Africans. However, we would say that we are going to narrow it to the West African migrants, of which Nigeria is going to be the center of the discussion, if you will. So far, we are yet to have our guests, the guests from United States and Canada are yet to be there. I actually would have liked to start it, but I think I would go on to explain the reason why this very discussion is important. I think this discussion is important because there is a notion that the issue of economic alienation plays an important role or plays a major role in the diverse cases among African migrants in the United States. In this sense, there is the notion that when Africans come to the United States because of their economic background, they go after the issue of money and then forget the focus about marriage. There are other ideas that says that Africans are very far away from their native home, where they have their extended families who always play a role in the issue of marriage. For example, when it has to do with settling of misunderstanding between spouses. In the case of the United States, some of these things are shortcoming. And then people actually seek for court as the last point for solution, which always lead to divorce. These are the two outstanding points that have been made so far. But apart from this point, apart from this issue of economic alienation, that which every African, it does not matter where you come from, is subjected to in all parts of the world, and which play a predominant role in determining whether a marriage is successful or not. There are also the idea that the Western values which people are confronted with have influence in the result of their marriage. Western values, of course, somebody can ask the question of, what do I mean by Western values? Okay, we want to leave it from a broader point of view so that it will give people opportunity. I mean, it will give room for own interpretation. And then we get down to analyzing this interpretation. So that's why we want to leave it open to values without naming specific idea of what we mean by values. All right. So on this note, excuse me, I think I have one of the visitors, one of the guests. I have to. Okay. Mr. George, Mazi George in the BC, you are welcome to the show. Good afternoon, Mazi George in the BC. You are welcome to the show. Mazi George, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much. And good afternoon to the viewers.
Good afternoon. So let me revert back to you, Mazi George. Thank you for coming to the show. And I wanted to introduce you guys today. I've done that in the case of Mazi Amuzie. So Mazi Ndubisi, you are author and writer of the book Ikenga. You are a specialist in the issue of African spirituality. Now, I would like you to complete this. Complete the remaining profile for our viewers so that they will know much more about you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Mazi Ndubisi George. I am a writer. Thankfully, what I would say, a gift from the nature. Wars of Ikenga was actually my first book, after which I've done one other one in Igbo, which I titled Onyebankete. And then the last one, which is coming out soonest, is going to be a very controversial book. I also called it The Second Coming of Judas. Apart from my writing career, I also have a regular job, a family man, and yes, a fulfilled father. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now you are just entering, you are just coming, and I have started with the introduction of today's discussion. Let me just repeat it again for your sake. So I have stated that there is, I've stated that there is a growing number of divorce cases among African migrants in the United States. And there is explanation, or there is a notion that this development is caused by, for example, the economic alienation which most Africans are subjected to, and as a result, Africans who are not well-to-do try to survive. And in this case, they run the risk of losing focus of what their marriage should be, and they have continued to search for money. So the economic issue is one of the factors that influence or that contribute to this growing number of divorce cases among Africans. Now, there is, however, an outstanding case is said to be the issue of the Western value. The Western value with which Africans are confronted plays a predominant role. That means that's why I want to start with the question, Mazindu. Let me throw this question to you first. Do you see a correlation between the two? That is the Western value and the growing number of divorce cases among Africans. Do you see a correlation between the two?
Exactly. If I have to be very blunt, one cannot, separate the two. Don't forget, originally, the Africans get married for better or for worse. It was the African concept that introduced this for better or for worse. Now, along the line, with mingling of culture, mingling of ideas, and ultimately the westernization of the Black man, things began to get out of hand. And now the African women or the African man now came to accept divorce as part of the, social culture. Originally, it was not. So I will very much blame the rampant case of divorce to the way we embrace the Western values. I will very much blame the rampant case of divorce to the miseducation of our people. I don't know if I have to stop it there until we...
Yes, I think, let me hear from Mazi Amuzie. What is his point of view?
Wow. This is, first of all, very interesting topic, and then very, very, I would say, very important that I appreciate, and I'm so excited. I'm excited that we choose this kind of particular topic to talk about. Like I always said, like you said, the Western value. I would just narrate. I would just bring it to the place whereby common person will understand it, and then I go back to the Western influence. The influences, all these things started on the influences that the Western people had on us. And then starting from when they came to Africa, when they came into our continent, and they discovered such a wealthy continent, and they say, wow, how can we be able to conquer this continent? So that is where the problem lies. The solution of how can we be able to conquer this territory and then be able to dominate these people in order, and then from there, they begin to map out plan, strategies, and how they can now be able to do it, which also include introducing a fake educational system. Let me put it in that way. A fake educational system that then we embrace. It's just like giving somebody a package, but you don't really know the content inside that package. So we take the concept without even properly observing the content inside that concept. So that is where that is, in my own point of view, that is where this problem all lies. So since then, we began to see everything from the Westerners as things that is more superior, so so better than us. So until we get back to that place, we will keep having this kind of misconception that is now pulling us backward instead of taking us forward.
Okay. From your point of view, you think that there is a misconception about the Western value?
Yes.
Some of the Western values, and this plays a role in the way we approach our issue of marriage.
Exactly.
All right. So unfortunately, we're yet to have the remaining two guests that were supposed to be present in this discussion today. This, however, will affect the way we are going to discuss this topic in one way or the other. So there is the point that our men, for example, the African men, are somehow aggressive and violent to their wife. In the United States, for example, where there is the law for the protection of women on the one hand. So that this actually is one of the reasons why there is a growing number of divorce cases among African migrants, because an African man in the United States who does not understand the fact that there is a kind of women rights or the idea of equality between men and women would essentially behave in such a way that is going to cost him his marriage anytime he violates the rule and regulation guiding the society, such as mishandling the wife. So on this note, I want to ask you, Mazindo, do you see the issue of violence as a behavior inherent to African men?
I think it's a combination of yes and no, depending on how you want to, on which angle you want to see it. An African man is a bold, a strong, and in some cases violent when it comes to protecting his own, when it comes to protecting his family and his children. But violent in by way of mistreating his wife, bullying his wife, was never part of our DNA. That is not inherent to the Black man. Let me tell you, as a matter of fact, how it was before.
Okay.
Before you go further, I want to hear from Mazi Anguzie, his point of view. What do you think, Mazi Anguzie?
I go back to what I always lamented. It's still misinformation, miseducation. And then a lot of things have been, because when the settlers, the missionaries, when they came in our continent and discovered the potential that is in that continent and sort kind of multi-wealth in that continent, then they went back and think and plan and come up with a strategy. And the very first strategy was like the song, I keep repeating the song, what Bob Marley said, what a legend Bob Marley said, may his soul rest in peace. He said that they kill them before they grow. And what did they do? Now they take up the children and now impacted this misinformation, wrong information. And that is exactly, because we should not forget that there is, when we are talking about needs, necessity, and desire, there are two major fundamental needs that we should not forget. And that is born needs, then inborn needs, and then also learned needs. So when we are talking about it, so we have been infused, enticed with these born needs, forgetting that before one will even be able to talk about the learned needs, you have to first of all you have to also maintain and defend this natural, born needs, which is the natural needs, the basement of needs. Like in Igbo adage, we say, "Anebuzo zotana tupu azobute." There is a reason why that that anebuza zotana was there, because that ana is the symbol of that our born needs, which is where we have to look into.
How do we relate your idea of born needs to the fact or to the question that African men has been tagged violence, and that it seems to be a prevalent idea among the Western culture?
Yes, it's very simple. It's very, very simple to relate it. Now, these learned needs, which is nobody was born nobody was born with the desire of having a car, having this, and then we have now a culture. For example, let's go to our marriage system today. Let me take in Igbo land today. If you are going to marry now, if a young man is going to marry, he will be given lists. After this young man be able to provide all these things, this is no longer marriage. That is the family selling their daughter. And it will be so much, it will irritate and make the person that when it's just like you bought a property now, and then now the property came inside and begin to order you. That's exactly how, that is the system that is now, that is where I just want us to link this thing up.
So
that
you're
is
saying that
this violence.
So you are saying, sorry, you are saying that we have deviated from our culture. Is that what you mean? And then embrace this Western culture?
Yes.
And it leads to violence?
That is it. Because we have left our own natural principle, how the nature made us, our DNA way of life.
Okay, you are saying that naturally we are not violence people.
No, we were not like that. We were not like that.
All right, Mazendo, please, you wanted to give us a historical of your state, your idea. Could you please go on and explain that? Sorry.
Thank you very much. We must understand, before we understand the depth of this mess, we must understand stages of, process of miseducating the Black man, which the descendants of the slaves, our brethren in America, went through. Africans in America, those of them who were moved from the African continent to the plantations, they went through series and series of, reformation, so to say. They were entirely beaten out of themselves. They were essentially tortured to the extent that torture and brutality became part of them. So sometimes you see them exhibiting this act of violence or brutality unknowingly, because this torture, this mess, they have been subjected to it to the extent they become part of it, to the extent they feel like, having fun, inflicting pain on their own. That is one of the points. Another point I wanted to say is that I want to take you people back, or the listeners back, to how it was. The Black man, if we are actually in the know of our history, had worshipped the Black woman. The Black man had, from the inception, been the protector of the family. This brutality, this beating, divorce is also not in our dictionary. Mind you that institution of marriage is actually not just the unification of the man and the woman, it is unification of families, It is unification of kindred or village. It is unification of culture or towns. So it is holds to the highest position that we don't joke with it. What we are witnessing is as a result of long years of cultural contamination, if I should put it that way.
Okay, Mazindu. Now, we understand that from the point both of you have made so far, we can conclude that the idea of the influence of the Western culture is one of the reasons there is a high rate of divorce among Africans, especially those of West African countries in the United States or in Germany, wheresoever. So before we go further, I would like to inform our viewers, this is still Miro African Diaspora, live on Facebook. We would like you to subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and then please read from our website. We publish daily. We are not a propaganda machine. We are running a pure journalistic work, and our intention is to represent Africa wherever it's necessary. So we are based here in Germany, and we are free from any type of duress that other journalists or media house in Nigeria go through nowadays. So we give a kind of objective report of whatsoever is happening in Nigeria. We cover them. So we ask you viewers to follow us, not just to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, but also to read our reports, our daily reports on MiroAfricanDiaspora.com. So now, to further our discussion, there is also a growing notion that the issue of feminism is apparently a Western ideology which African men are unable to, cannot handle. This is also one of the reasons why there is an increased number of divorce rate among Africans, because they are unable to conceive the fact that women are protected by the idea of equality. This idea of feminism as a Western culture, what's your take about it, Mazindu?
This is also what I will call the hunter writing the story of the hunt. You know, when the lion had no historian. Feminism is actually recognizing the role of the women folk in the society. So it has been as early as the early man. You know, like I said, the African hold their women to a very high esteem, to the extent that we had the position of goddess in our pantheon. The Africans believe that wherever there is a god, there should be a goddess. In fact, the original understanding of God, you know, I mean, if we have to assign God a gender, God is a feminine, you know. So we had all along treated our women as the queen, as our mother. They are our mother, regardless of their age. In fact, for one to say that the feminist movement, or it was that the Europeans that gave kind of protection or authority to the women folk, is a fallacy. In the traditional Igbo society, for example, we have the curators of power. Among the curators of power, which we still have in Igbo society, a group we know as the Umuada or the Umuopo. and their words are, I mean, they are not a people or a group of people one can look down on, no matter who you are. So feminism is as old as Igbo society, you know. The problem is that, like I said, with the contamination of culture, with the societal factors, and the worship for wealth kind of life that we have adopted, you know.
Okay. Let me play you this video just to add to what you've just said. Maybe it can help us understand the idea that of ethnicization. I will ask this question later on, if the idea of ethnicization also contributes to this perception that African men have problem with feminism, or, I mean, is it actually a misconception about African values on its own? So I want to play you this video. It has to do with a discussion, an interview between Christina Amanpour and one of the most popular African writer, Chimamanda. Okay, let me just show you.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Just a minute. So I'm trying to find the video, just a minute.
Some other person is appearing and disappearing there like a ghost.
So
we are growing.
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
Just a minute. That's one of my clues.
That's all right.
So just a minute. I will.
Let me start by asking you then around the whole Me Too debate, which you've talked a lot about. You surprised quite a lot of your devotees and the people who hang on every word with a speech you made in Stockholm this week, where you revealed for the first time that at 17, you had been aggressed. You had your own ugly, unpleasant Me Too moment. Tell me about it.
So there was a man in Lagos who was, who I thought would help me with my first, I published a book of poetry, a terrible, terrible book that I hope nobody ever reads. But I was young and I thought it was a wonderful book. And so I thought the world should know about it. And so I wanted to do a book launch. And I went to this man's office and he was very nice, very helpful. I was sitting across his desk and he said he was so impressed because young people were not reading and I had written this book at 17. And then he got up and came round and very casually slipped his hand under my shirt, under my bra, and squeezed my breast.
Just like that?
Yes.
Did you even get a sense of foreboding when he got up and came around? No.
No, because nothing had prepared me for it. Nothing had, nothing in his behavior had suggested that he was going to do anything like that.
You were 17?
Yes. Yes.
So how did that shape you? How did that...
Did you get the information I was trying to convey to you?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let me just bring it to the point. She gave a record of her experience. I mean, this is a very bad experience. We must accept. There is no doubt about it, that such behavior is not, cannot be tolerated in any way, in any country, in any place. So, but my question now is, this very narration, we understand that the idea of ethnicization can as well go unnoticed. Ethnicization, that means that a certain group of people or ethnicity is described with a certain way of behavior, and is seen as though this is a natural behavior, is portrayed in such a way that certain rules, a certain way of behavior is subscribed or ascribed to them as a way of behavior. And this is something that happens in most Western countries, in which Africans are seen as violence, are seen as wild, not just African men, but also their female counterparts. My question now is, when such discussion, as we see there, when it's portrayed, we have a white female interviewing an African female. She narrated her ordeal. It is quite understandable that it's a bad circumstance. But however, does this type of explanation, of course, it does say something about her bad experience, but does it give a kind of support to this ethnicization that this is something going on in the African countries, and that this is how perhaps, presumably, a good number of Africans are, African men, so to say? You understand my question?
I do.
Okay.
That cannot be. It is a very sad situation hearing that from her. But that said, it cannot be used to generalize the culture or life pattern of African men. What we must understand is a country like Nigeria, there is this general societal decay. It crosses, it goes across ethnic groups and cultures. Nigeria, I mean, when you hear of reports from schools, you see how the lecturers, the teachers, or even the so-called pastors, the men of God, are handling their women, their female followers. So there is a general societal decay. That is an exception. The case of Nigeria is an exception. Generally, totally bad.
Okay.
But then I will still argue that it has nothing to do that the way the black man is wired. No, I cannot agree with anybody that that is our culture. It cannot be. Our ancestors or our grandparents were never like that.
I would like to play another.
I might like to just
wait. I will give you time to talk. I want to play another segment of this very clip, because I don't want anybody to take her statement out of context. You understand? So
yes.
Let me try to play another segment or another section of this very video, okay? Just a moment. Excuse me. I want to play the I want to play in a different area. And I think that is 0445 of this very clip. Let's go to the okay.
Grew up in Nigeria and observed the world and just saw what felt to me like an injustice that made no sense. Why were women judged more harshly? Why were all the positions of real power occupied by men? Why were the cultural practices that had prestige somehow only for men? You know, those things just, it didn't seem to make any sense to me as a child.
Again, recount in one of your TED Talks an extraordinary story.
Did you hear that? What I want you to pay attention is what she said about where she grew up. She grew up in Nigeria, she said, okay? And in her statement, she made it clear that the environment played a role. Not the Western culture or Western point of view of what is feminism, but where she grew up. I mean, she didn't say that clearly, that the environment actually allows the expression of feminism, but that is what her statement implies. So essentially, she actually said that our environment, by the way, when she said Nigeria, we have to differentiate. She's talking about Biafra land, because in the northern part of the country, I don't think because of the religious concept of the northerners that they understand that they pay much attention to the issue of equality between men and women. So we have to be very distinctive in the word Nigeria is Biafra land that she was talking about. So
yes,
okay.
You know, the reason why is like it boils back to the things that, in my own opinion, you see, if I listen to that video, she said she was talking about where she grew up, where she was born and grown up. And then she talked about the culture that allows the men. And now we are talking about now, is this culture that we are practicing today our original culture? This culture have been attacked by the same people with concept, with different content that is not our content. So that is where it boils back, including herself. She's now attacking also, she's now attacking the, now she's now saying something.
Okay, excuse me, I don't think Chimamanda was attacking.
Yeah, that is why that is the word that I want to pull back, because that is
yes, it's very important that we
she's now explaining herself based on the current culture. But someone that understands our original culture, like Mazi George have said, you know, if you go to, let me now use and then in Igbo concept, we have what we call Ndimbo, Ndiokbo, and Diegede. Now, who are these Ndiokbo? And if you look at the Obo Igbo, the arc of the Igbos, you saw that the female, is the female that stands at the front. Like in Abreba, where I come from, there was a time that there is a school called Awuko, which means Abreba Women's School.
Okay.
They have an issue. Let me just explain. This thing is very, very important, please. There was a time they have an issue because there was a symbol that was a man was standing at the shoulder of a woman, smoking his cigar. And then the women were grieved, and then they went, and this becomes a very controversial issue until that the women went to find out, and they want that artifact to be demolished. And the artifact was explained very well to them that this is that the symbol means that the foundation, our foundation is based on the woman, that it is the woman that is carried, that is only through the woman, a man is standing on the shoulder of a man, of a woman, which goes back to what they say, behind every successful man, there must be a strong woman. And so that is where we lost it. Since this culture have been misplaced, we lost this information.
So on this note, we can summarize that African culture, at least with using that of the Igbo culture to give example, does understand the issue of equality between men and women. And on this note, I want to show you a picture that has to do with a historical event that perhaps most people don't know about. It's called the Aba Women's Riot of 1929. All right. So yes. Let me show you this picture. Moment. Moments. It's very small in this. Very small. Nevertheless, I will go on.
Yeah, that's it.
That is it.
All right. So we all are. A lot of people know about the Aba Women's Riot of I think that should be November 1929. It has to do with the riot that broke out.
The uprising of the women.
Yes, but this uprising, as you call it, is not just an uprising, but the reason why they had this uprising is also very, very important for the discussion about the equality or the idea of feminism as a European culture, because it has to do with the idea that these women refused to be counted. They refused that to pay to pay tax as was expected by the then
the colonial master.
The British rule. They imposed tax on men. Women accepted it, but when this tax was extended to the women, they revolted and asked the reason why women should pay tax. They are against it, not only because they see it that their men has been exploited, but they question the moral background of such action. They asked one of the women when she was asked to count her cattle and whatsoever she has at home, she asked the man, Okwebu, or what as he called, that was sent to collect this tax or to carry out this action, if your mother was counted. That's quite interesting. Was your mother counted? It's a word that go into the history, that go down to history, that very question. So another part of this discussion, another side of this historical record is that it actually explained the issue of the Eastern Protectorate as they were then, because the riot was did not just end in Owerri, it extended to Calabar, Ibibio.
The whole of Eastern region, yes.
The whole of Biafra land, if you will. So, but these are not the area we are going to touch today. Let's just understand, or use this issue of Aba women riot.
One other critical point.
I will come to you, Mazindo. Just let me finish. So let's just use this as a background to understand the fact that feminism has always been part of the African culture and that of the Igbo culture or the Biafran culture, if you will. So the idea that it originated, that it is a British, or sorry, it is a Western culture, is questionable. Now, back to you, Mazindo. What was that you wanted to contribute to? Go ahead.
What I had wanted to contribute is that this goes a long way to point out the fact that women in Igbo society were well recognized. Their authorities were well recognized or appreciated. You know, the role which they play in, governance was well appreciated. That is one of the points I want to, point out from this Abara women riots. Now, going further into the whole narrative, like I said in the beginning, we were never given the opportunity to write our own story, or the Europeans, with very clear intent, wrote junk out of our, beautiful culture and presented to the world. It was actually the European patriarch system, people who would not tolerate a woman being at the helm of affairs. It was the patriarch system that demolished the cultural practices of the Igbos. Like I said in the beginning as well, it was the patriarch system that made them not to tolerate the position of a mother in the original Trinity. I don't know if our viewers or listeners actually knew that before the Roman concept of a Trinity, the Igbos or the Africans had the Trinity being the Father, the Mother, and the Son. Okay. That was how it is. That was the Trinity which the world knew. So on the Greco-Roman imperialism.
Mazin, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you here. We're still going to come back to this very line of thought that you are trying to portray. I want to show you, because we are supposed to have Mr. Clayton Udo from USA, who is actually a mentor of mentor, if you will, but also someone that is savvy about the issue of feminism. There is a video he produced that touches this discussion we're having currently. So I want to play it to you, and I want you to pay attention to what he says about the issue of African men being accused of not being of not being, well, let's say romantic, and our women being what he called of lacking what he called cultural identity. Okay, so just a moment. Moment, please. Viewers, we are trying to...
Praise the Lord, brothers and sisters. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. This message is for my Nigerian brothers and sisters. And like I said, most of the time, whenever I speak, it's very, very controversial. It's very, very provocative. But I have a reason I speak, because I want people to think. And this one is a quick one that I want to hit on, because I think there's a lot of hypocrisy and fakeness involved here. And it's about something that I have noticed that is going on, and let's go on it.
Let me just fast forward.
A few days ago, a friend of mine called me and he was telling me, let's go on it. I started doing my research, and I discovered it is myriads, huge number of men having African women. The regions of Africa that I see this thing very common: East Africa, Ghana, Nigeria. the West African sector. So East Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, here in overseas, they will do. So a man will run and leave United States and go back to his country. Some run and cross over to Canada, or they go over to London, and then she will turn and use the courts and take his house, take his car, take everything.
Okay.
I used to find out why should someone ruin someone like that? A so-called wife, in parentheses. Why should someone ruin in the car? No, that's a man's job. Okay, can you help me paint the other? No, it's a man's job. The women are quick to tell you what's the woman is shouting at them, where's the child's belt? Where's the child's socks? Where's the child's everything? And the women go around telling everybody we are. Somehow the story will be twisted. It's always the man's fault. And she's marrying. She can marry up to 7 times. Nobody knows what's going on. I am saying this because too many men's lives have been destroyed because of people who think. Hypocrisy, like I said, is now a lot of marriages. The men are the ones doing the women's roles, their roles, and keeping their jobs. All that to keep a man. Yep, we girls are flying higher. Hashtag liberated sisters. And I'll be happy about it inside in my life. The show of that out there that, you know, so because it has lowered the competition. Now I have won. I'm going up. He's African women, East Africa, Nigeria, Ghana. When it comes to Africans that control everything, and if you don't like it like that, they'll bring in the American courts to destroy your life, destroy everything around you. They will insult you, and I'm like 80,000 that they will destroy everything around them. You know, the part that I see also is that a lot of, and I remember whenever I make my videos, I refer to bitch-ass men. Bitch-ass men.
Okay.
It has come to a point where we really can't define marriages in the African context anymore in the United States, because the man is changing diapers. He's washing the plates. He's sweeping the floor. He's and cooking the food. Can you help me change that? And expensive perfumes and undies for their women. Already done the job for the man's enemies out there. They are applauding her. They now call her for parties and call her to come and drink in their house. And then there's the part 2. When they throw their everything away, a clock starts ticking, a timing clock. Who they run it around and stuff like that. And you'll be like, 4th marriage, people fool. 4th marriage. And if you put your ear to the ground, they're still blaming because of people who think they are in America. This America thing. Okay, I normally ask this simple question. What if a man became very rich and he had a house in America, and he had a house in Canada, and he had a house in Germany, and he had a house in Japan? He had houses all over the place. People are making dream money. Indian community, I've never seen anything like that before. In IT, they own it. Google about it inside in my life. The show of that out there in the public, it looks good. But meanwhile, back home, I'm swallowing She now acts like she's Canadian. And then when you cross her over to the house in Germany, she now as they go lower, we go higher. Yep, we girls are flying higher. Hashtag liberated sisters. And then you wonder what is wrong with African women. Ghanaian community is the first community I've seen that 4th marriage, people fool. 4th marriage. And if you put your ear to the ground, they're still blaming the men at the 4th marriage of the woman. She's married, the first one divorced, second one divorced, third one divorced, 4th marriage, they fool. They drink, they chop chicken, everything, and they're blaming. They're talking about how all the other 3 men, there's something wrong with them, that they were animals, that they were this and that. And you wonder, is it always the men that is the problem? Same with the East African women. They will divorce, 3 divorces, 4. Somehow the story will be twisted. It's always the man's fault. And she's marrying. She can marry up to 7 times. Nobody knows what's going on. I am saying this because too many men's lives have been destroyed because of people who think they are in America. This America thing. Okay, I normally ask this simple question. What if a man became very rich and he had a house? Are the ones doing the women's roles? Because I want to show people that I kept my marriage going. It's crap. It's bullshit. And that's for bitch-ass men. I would rather live longer for my children than to stay in something that is horrific and try to keep it going. One side is always throwing the fishing pole in the sky. One person is always trying to catch it. When does the other person become mature and stop? Oh, because you're making $80,000. Like I said, come and see the Indian women. 150. The husband is making 180. 200. The husband is making 190. People are making dream money. Indian community, I've never seen anything like that before. In IT, they own it. Google, Facebook, everywhere, they own it. and they're killing money. Those guys hold cash, dream money, and their wives are not going crazy. You see their wives by their husbands all the time. The other final part I'll leave you with is I thank God for Trump.
Okay.
I thank God for Trump because Trump has defined what America truly is about.
That's it. So, Mazedo.
Yes.
African men, are they, unfortunately, we don't have any feminists in this show today, which I wanted to have, because I'm beginning to feel that this discussion is a bit unbalanced in the sense that we are discussing it, since we are discussing it from the male point of view. This is
male perspective, yes.
What I wanted to avoid. I had this in mind, and unfortunately, I couldn't influence it. I thought these feminists from these Canadian feminists would have been here, because we cannot shy away from the fact that most African men are essentially violent. But what is discussable is it an African thing? Which we have said no. According to what this guy, Clayton's, brought down there, it appears that to be violent is not something inherent to African people, that you can still find the act of violence. I mean, act of violence is something human, and you find it in other ethnicity, right?
Yes.
So the question now is, based on this point that some other Africans, like the Indians, they are, as he put it, they are not romantic, and yet their women are fair, and there is no high rates of divorce among them. What do you say to that?
Well, the only thing I would say to that is that some of these cultures are still holding on to their identity, to their heritage. Africa went through a long process of deformation. I mean, if we begin to unravel how we came to this very point now, we would...
Excuse me, but somebody might put it to you that Africa is not, or Nigeria is not the only one colonized by the Britain. I mean, India also experienced the same issue of colonization. What do you say?
Yes, yes, yes. But Indians have managed to free themselves. At least as we are talking now, we are still under a new phenomenon known as neo-colonialism in Africa. And that is why you see the comparison, Indians.
So the colonization continues, right? And,
yes,
and therefore the Western influence continues, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Mazi, your take.
Yes, it boils back to the same thing, because if you heard about what our brother said, it boils back down to, if you are talking of the Indians, let's just say the Asian entirely were also colonized, but the Asians have managed to liberate themselves to get back to their original culture. Like Marcus Garvey said, a man without the knowledge of his culture is like a tree without a root. And look at our educational system. Who taught us in Nigeria? Let me use Nigeria. Are we being taught history? Talk less of going back a lot of things. So we lost it. That is why last time I talked about that this manipulation of our cultural system, ancient educational system, and then also spirituality have been this is the consequences, the damage of those three things. These are the consequences that we are suffering today. So okay. If our women will understand that through our culture, they have a role, and we have hold them to the high esteem, and they get back to that place by how our culture how our ancestors founded our culture, all this problem will be solved. Till today, the Africans, the colored people haven't found a way to get back to understand that the educational system that we are practicing today is fake. The religious system that we are practicing today is fake. The cultural system that we have practicing today is fake. I once heard Chima Amanda want to know something about Igbo culture. Then she have to travel all the way to America to study about it. What did you think that the person that manipulated, that have caused a lot of havoc in our lives, what do you think that is going to hand over to you? That is where the problem lies.
Sorry, you know, Chimamanda is explicitly said that she did not has to learn the issue of feminism by reading it from European point of view or whatsoever, that she grew up because she was in an environment where she noticed that there is a kind of inequality between men and women. She said that. And I made the point that for the fact that she observed that and was able to, acquire perhaps certain ways of handling it, also shows that that environment allows the exclusion of women's rights. You understand what I'm trying to say? That's an argument. So that's an argument that is plausible in this context. And that's why I brought it in. So it's not like because I don't want her to be
no. Let me chip in there.
All right.
Whatsoever that we are talking about, it still boils back. You know, I just hit the nail at the point so that let the viewers and everybody make their choice.
Okay.
And that is, we have our foundation have been attacked. If the foundation is collapsed, who will stand? That is what we are talking about. Our foundation have been attacked and have been attacked with misinformation. So anybody that is in that place now is behaving, it is just like when you put, when a computer contacted virus, then the computer begin to misbehave. So unless one be able to now shut down everything and remove and clean up that virus, and then put back the original program before the computer will begin to function well. So everything that she observed then was as a result of still the attack.
Okay, let me ask you, Mazindo, in every society where there is a progress or where the economy is, where there is a viable economy, it seems to me that women also play a predominant role in forming that society. For example, in Germany, you cannot say anything without involving the role of women. It is unimaginable. Yes. And if you are aware of the history, what happened after the Second World War, a lot of men were no longer there, and women actually took up the men's role, all right? And it plays a role to the way the society is organized today. It appears to me that even though we believe, or we can argue that the Bar Women's Riot is a kind of a proof that the role of women has been recognized, has always been recognized in the African community or in the Igbo community, to be precise. The fact that our environment, our economic circumstances have not been able to thrive, okay, shows that there is a kind of, our women have not been given the opportunity to fill certain space. What do you think?
It is not just the economy. The whole sector of human development is in a mess. It is also not just because women has not been allowed. You know, when we overemphasize or sing about this feminism, something is wrong.
Okay, you have problem with your, it's like Mazi George is having problem with his.
No, I'm back. All right. With you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Let me just, yes.
Go on. I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear. Go on.
Thank you.
Before you continue, let me just inform our viewers again that this is Mirror African Diaspora live on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and then subscribe to our YouTube. Please, viewers, this is opportunity for you to support an outstanding media that has dedicated itself to propagating African history, African narrative, and also to represent Africa extensively in every area that is necessary. So please subscribe to our website. We are doing daily publication. We are not weekly, we publish daily, just like every other mainstream media. And you have to know that if you can subscribe to our media, then you are promoting one of the outstanding media that write about you. It's about, writing the narrative by ourselves. Okay? So Mazindo, go on. Thank you.
Yes, I'm there. I am sorry if I've disturbed.
No, it's
there was
right.
a technical issue. So, yes, I want to also add my voice to what you just said now to the viewers. It's high time we begin to talk about these things. It's high time we begin to discuss it. Now, what I was saying, when we begin to sing or to overemphasize this feminism on the part of the Africans or the Igbos, as if to say we had no recognition for our women folk, is as if it is to instill into our subconscious that we are barbarians, we eat our women, we kill them. You know, but from the onset of history, from onset of human development, our women were actually the owners of the society, the caretakers of the house. The job of the men is to move around, do their hunting, and come back. Are you aware that it was actually the women that started agriculture? You know, they hang around in their close-knitted communities, you know, doing their small picking of fruits. And
as market leaders.
And they also introduced this, do I say, mini, archaic form of trading, marketing, you know, until at a point when men discovered that Africa is more sufficient or more helpful than roaming about hunting. That was when men settled down, or that was when these moving families began to settle at a point. They began to cultivate, they began to have barn and settle down. So women have been from onset, the bone in the family arrangement. There is no two ways about it. What is happening now is as a result of long years of misinformation and miseducation. Our people now are trying to, or they are trying to make us believe, just like the popular news outlet is trying to make us believe that the only story about Africa is poverty, about starvation, about, whereas in the real sense, Africa is the breadbasket of the world.
Yes, I will come back to you. I think I've also mentioned this very point you are expatiating on when I said that the problem we have, when I was asking the question if the issue of ethnicization is the problem Africans contribute to the idea that African men are violent to their women. And I explained that ethnicization is more or less a European concept. It's an ethnocentric point of view of Africans. They try to categorize Africa in certain way. They try to subscribe certain way of behavior to Africans, or to, to Africans. They, for example, they point out or they project certain ways of behavior, which actually is not good on African as a way of differentiating themselves from Africa. The Africa becomes the other that is essentially perhaps wild, irrational, and aggressive, especially to their wife. And this is a way of establishing, this is what I want you to understand. That is what ethnicization implies. This is a way of establishing a point of view or a way of observing Africa that differs from them as the overriding culture, as the civilized people. The question is, if I ask them, if the problem with ethnicization is that it happens unnoticed. It becomes a way of everyday life. It happens in everyday life and goes unnoticed. People begin to absorb that mentality and believe that it is the way themselves are. And that is where you start having the problem of the so-called identity issue. You have a lot of Africans that cannot even identify with African culture. And that is what the young man, Mr. Clayton Udo, was pointing at when she gave examples of how the Indians, which he said are not even more romantic than Africa, yet their wives stick to them. So that is the issue. I was trying to make it understandable that we may have absorbed the European ways of observing the Africa subconsciously and assume that we are actually bad. So I just want to clarify that point.
You said it right. Thank you very much. That was a very good explanation. I think one of these European writers said, you tell a bad story about a people. I mean, when you want to change a people or change the world perspective of a people,
yes,
tell a bad story about them, repeat it over and over and over again, and over time it becomes who they are.
It becomes true. So let's give Mazi. Go on, just 30 seconds, and we wait. Yeah. We are almost
that is
to the end of
exactly.
the show. That's why you have to make it as short as possible.
Yes, that is exactly what I want to say. We are now battling with character assassination, bloodless murder. And if you look at the definition of character assassination, a character assassin is not interested when it's coming. He's not interested. It's all about his own interest. So he used this person. He used A and B, bring them together, and they begin to kill themselves. A believe that B is bad. B believe that A is bad. As they begin to fight themselves, then the assassin himself will begin to rip them off. Like they said in Igbo adage that when two brothers are fighting, the strangers will be ripping them off. That is what is happening in our midst. And then for our women, until they get back, now let me use, whenever I talk, we get back to the Igbo system, because that is where I will use as an example to keep on narrative. You see the Igbo market days that we are practicing in Igbo land.
We don't have much time
by women.
So
yes,
we're almost at the end of the show. The summary here, if you will, is that the issue of feminism is not in any way a European concept. It's not a European culture. Our men understand it, and they're actually, the African men, especially that of Igbo extraction, and Biafran extraction, if you will, are aware of the issue of equality, because they have practiced it all the while. And we used the history of Aba women's revolt or riot to explain that better. Again, we, however, use that of Chimamanda interview or statement to explain the fact that in an environment where someone said she grew up seeing that women are, there is a kind of inequality treatment which women are subjected to, that she also conceived or acknowledged the fact that that environment allows for women to act as feminists, because she said she became a feminist not through the point of view of Europeans' idea about feminism. So all this put together, we can come to an end that this discussion today about feminism should help us, or should at least help our men to understand that women, especially that of African women, deserve to be praised, deserve to be respected, deserve to be understood from the point of view of a woman, because essentially men and women, we don't feel the same way, feel the same way. And unless you show that sense of emotional intelligence, you will never be able to understand the point of view from which a woman is expressing her anger or her interest. On this note, I will still ask you guys to say your last word. We're almost finished. Based on today's discussion to our viewers before I conclude. Just
yes,
seconds.
Thank you very much. If I have to start immediately, I want to thank the viewers. I want to thank you, the anchorman. I will continue to say that we need to start delving into our own history. Chinua Achebe said, you know, it is high time we begin to tell our story ourselves. You know, sometimes there is this heavy misconception. It's just as a result of a stranger writing what he wants. We must also acknowledge, even as we speak now, there are men we call social engineers, social scientists, people who sit down, program, or arrange how to completely change the perception of a people. You know, these people are still at work. These people are still not keen on having African or the Africans stand on their feet. So the war is still ongoing. It is probably not a physical combat, but a psychological warfare, a brain game that is aimed at keeping Africa on her knees. You know, so I want to thank the viewers once again, thank my fellow contributor, and hope to see you guys some other time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mazindo. Once again, to our viewers, please subscribe to our YouTube, Miro African Diaspora TV. And please go to our page and read our articles. We want to represent you in every aspect, and we publish every day. We publish news from Africa, around things happening around Africa. We publish Nigerian news. We want to be part of this movement, this enlightenment, this issue of awakening in Africa. We want to lead you to the civilized aspect of life. In as much as you follow us, you will be able to understand that there is more to gain in the issue of enlightenment. We are currently at the stage that we can call African enlightenment. And the problem is that a lot of people are not yet to understand that the stone actually which Mazin Nnamdi Kanu laid on the ground is not merely about Biafra, it's also African enlightenment. We are going to nourish that. We are going to portray the issue happening in Africa, not from the, essentially from agitative point of view, but as an objective media that want to report on issues as they are happening. All right, so we ask you to follow us on Twitter, follow us Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube. Thank you very much, viewers, for paying attention today. Thank you, because without you, we are not going to do anything here. That's why it's very important that you subscribe to Miro African Diaspora, www Miro African Diaspora. You don't need www, just miroafricandiaspora.com. Go there, read every day, read everything you want. Thank you very much once again. And I'm still Robinson Afamefuna Ambrose. Thank you for paying attention. Bye-bye.
Thank you, viewers. Bye-bye.